There's a certain quiet that settles in after a layoff. Once the denial and the anger fade, a quieter voice shows up. The one that starts every sentence with, if only. If only I'd worked later. If only I'd spoken up more. If only I'd seen the signs. This loop is exhausting. It tricks you into believing that you could rewrite the past if you just think hard enough. I've been there, and I've watched colleagues get stuck there too. It eats away at your confidence until you feel defined by that one moment and forgetting the rest of your career and your life. Today, we're naming this phase, understanding why it's so powerful, and giving you 4 concrete strategies to break free. This isn't about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about choosing to move through it with your dignity and your future intact. A layoff isn't just about losing a job. It's losing routine and community and identity. And when that's taken from you without your permission, your brain scrambles for control. And that scramble has a name: the bargaining stage of job loss grief. It's natural, but staying stuck in it keeps you trapped in the past instead of preparing you for your next chapter. Recognizing it is the first step out. Moving on is the next step. Let's Let's start with defining the if only trap. What is it? Well, bargaining is your mind's attempt to protect you from helplessness. The layoff or the forced retirement decision happened to you in a room you weren't in for reasons you couldn't control. As humans, we hate feeling powerless, so the brain invents stories where you could have changed the outcome. But the reality is, you can't. But for people over 55, this phase can be especially brutal. The if-onlys often attach themselves to age. If only I looked younger, if only I hid that I had grandkids, if only I acted like the younger members of the team. This is where bargaining becomes dangerous. It convinces you to negotiate away your own identity and self-worth. You start believing that your experience is a liability instead of your greatest strength. Most layoffs aren't personal. They're spreadsheets and restructurings or market shifts decided by the finance department and often dumped at HR's door. But your brain translates this into, I wasn't good enough. And bargaining becomes your attempt to argue with that translation. But you can't win that argument with the past set in stone. The only way out is to stop trying to rewrite the past and to pivot towards a new future. Let's cover the hidden costs of bargaining. Because bargaining doesn't just drain you emotionally, it has real consequences. Here are some examples of how people might bargain against themselves. First, our appearance changes. You buy youthful clothes that feel like a costume, you dye your hair or adopt some weird social media trends that don't fit you. Instead of projecting confidence, you actually project discomfort. People sense it immediately, especially those trained HR recruiters sitting in the interview room. And then there are the language adjustments. You force younger slang or buzzwords into your speech. You downplay your own expertise to avoid intimidating your younger managers. This makes you sound less authentic, and it actually undermines your credibility. Seriously, do you really say, let's crush it in your everyday life? Some may fall into tech overcompensation. You chase every tool or platform, even ones irrelevant in your field. It drains your time, your energy, and it leads to shallow, unfocused learning. And it probably even costs you something for courses and certifications. Personally, I had to learn a lot of tech to record and edit and distribute a podcast, but I kept it focused on what was needed and I avoided all the rest. And lastly, some may fall into mindset and role compromises. You apply for roles far below your level. You You hide your family life to feign flexibility, or you pretend that you're someone that you're not, just to open an interview door. These compromises, they reinforce the idea that your age is the problem, and that's the real trap, and you're stepping into it willingly. Be careful. The price of bargaining is always your self-worth, and that's a price you can't afford to pay. Let's talk about 4 strategies to break free from the past and from bargaining. Strategy 1, reframing what-if thoughts into forward action. This strategy has several parts. Interrupting the self-defeating thought and redirecting it into a plan. Step 1, you need to interrupt the bargaining thought. When you hear yourself say, if only I had updated my tech skills sooner, pause and say, if you catch yourself, stop. That's a bargaining thought. This breaks the automatic loop of that self-destruction spiral. Then step 2, redirect that thought into a forward-looking question, like turn that regret into practical present tense questions. For example, what's one relevant skill I can learn this week? Or what's one thing I can do in my next role to make sure that my contributions are more visible? This forward looking, it transforms helplessness into current action and future focus. Step 3, build yourself a daily success journal. When bargaining, you end up discounting what you've achieved in your career. And I'm sure you've achieved a lot. Don't just give it away. Every day, write down one career win you've had in the past, a project you led, a crisis you handled, a team you mentored, or a process that you improved. Build a database of what you've achieved, big or small. This becomes your evidence file, a counterweight to that distorted narrative that bargaining creates. When the if only start whispering that you weren't good enough, you have written proof that you were. Stamp out those doubts. Moving on to the second strategy. Choose to immerse yourself in authentic networking versus just fitting in. This strategy replaces performative networking with actual peer-to-peer connection. Why try to mingle with young startup founders if that's not you or if that's not even your preferred direction in life? First, step 1, reconnect with your familiar networks, right? Start with alumni groups, with former colleagues and other professional associations that you probably already belong to. These are rooms where you already have credibility, people who know what you are and what you can do. Then go to step 2, seek out experienced professional communities. There are groups specifically for professionals over 50, for industry veterans, and for career transitioners with senior experience. These spaces, they normalize your challenges and they can amplify your strengths. Everyone in that room is going through the same as you, and they get you. Step 3 may surprise you. Use LinkedIn intentionally. Instead of chasing recruiters or those black hole job postings, try identifying 5 people over 50 in your industry who occupy roles that you admire. Send them a message, something like, I'm navigating a transition and I admire your path. I'd love to hear your perspective on how our industry is evolving. This positions you as their peer, not an applicant. And the last step here, share your experience honestly. Talk openly about what you've learned, what you're exploring, what you're curious about. Authenticity builds trust, and trust leads to opportunities. This could yield a lot of learnings, perhaps even an advisory role or potentially a job over time. You have nothing to lose by being honest. The third strategy is one you'd use in any negotiation. You set non-negotiables for your job search. You set the bare minimum acceptable terms. This strategy prevents you from ultimately negotiating against yourself. First, you define your compensation floor. Research your market value and literally write down, I will not accept a base salary below X. This protects you from fear-based self-discounting. Think about it. If someone offered you a $100,000 Mercedes-Benz for $50,000, you probably will think, what's wrong with this? The same goes for recruiters. The second step is defining your role level. Be honest about the level where you thrive. Again, depending on your past career, write down, I will only pursue director level and above positions, or I will only pursue positions with strategic responsibility. This prevents you from sliding into lower roles that drain you, not from the workload, but from boredom and stagnation. Then, and this is very important, step 3, define your culture requirements. Think about environments where you've done your best work in the past. What's important to you? Is it collaborative teams, respectful communication, work-life balance, clear decision-making? Write them down. These aren't only preferences, they're actually boundaries which ultimately help you to thrive. And most important of all, step 4, protect your authentic identity. Again, write down, I will not change how I look or talk or present myself to seem younger or more modern. My experience is my value. You are you. Don't become someone else just to open the interview door. And if they hire you, they'll eventually figure out that you were pretending in that interview. This is the anchor that stops the bargaining spiral. Now, for the fourth strategy, practice radical self-acceptance rituals. These are hard, really hard, especially if you're already standing in front of the mirror and blaming yourself for the situation. These rituals, they literally retrain your emotional habits. So start with the first one, daily affirmations. Choose 2 to 3 statements that counter your specific fears. Maybe it's, my experience is an asset, not a liability, or I've earned my wisdom, or even any employer would be lucky to have my leadership. Say them in the mirror every morning. Trust me, it's much better than looking in the mirror and hating on that person that's looking back at you. As I've said before, I'm not one for empty platitudes or motivational quotes, but anything you do to stop beating yourself up is a winning action. If you've watched the episode on anger, the second phase of job loss grief, then you remember the burn letter, or the verbal vomit, as I called it. In step 2, write that burn letter to your former employer if you haven't done that yet. This is where you get out your anger, your aggression, and start really separating from the past. Include what hurt, what you're grateful for, because I'm sure there were some good things. But most importantly, shed the last bits of anger. Insult your old boss, trash HR, use language that you'd punish your kids for using. Then read it out loud, and when finished, destroy it. Delete it, tear it up, or burn it safely. This signals to your subconscious that the negotiation is over. You've broken with the past, and you're ready now to move forwards. In the third step, cut the digital connection from your former employer. Just unfollow them on LinkedIn, stop the social media, and unsubscribe from all their email newsletters. Stop letting that chapter back into your life. This will prevent that emotional re-triggering. The fourth step is about rebuilding your physical and mental foundation. Treat your well-being as your new full-time job. Walk daily, sleep consistently, revisit a hobby, eat more healthy, or try something new like meditation. These aren't luxuries, they're resilience practices. I wasn't very good at practicing these, and I paid a price, both physically, I gained weight, or mentally, I really struggled to get over blaming myself. So let's sum this all up. The if only bargaining loop, it's powerful, but it's temporary. You've already survived denial and anger, the first 2 phases of job loss grief, and you can move through this one as well. Remember to first reframe what if thoughts into current and future action, then network authentically, not performatively. Go with your own tribe. Next, set firm non-negotiables for yourself. Don't sell yourself cheap. And finally, practice daily self-acceptance rituals. A healthy body and a clear mind will get you further. I learned this the hard way. Your layoff or forced retirement is a chapter in your book, not the entire story. There's a lot more of that to go. In the meantime, your experience and your resilience are your superpowers. Use them. In the next episode, we'll talk about the fourth phase of job loss grief, depression. It's probably the most debilitating of the five phases. We'll talk about how to navigate that one. For now, if you're willing, please share one, if only, in the comments. What have you said to yourself? Saying it out loud takes away its power over you, and perhaps it helps someone else feel a little less alone. You can also share that on the Discord server. The link for that is in the show notes below. So until we meet again, just remember, your value was never in that job. It's in you. As I like to say, youth runs fast, but age knows the terrain. See you next time.